financial results you need and the justice you deserve. Over the past 40 years, the Harrison firm has secured nearly $1 billion in compensation. The interview of the
With only 4 games left in the regular season, New York City FC is officially playoff bound. Riding a win streak, City does battle with Lionel Messi and Inter Miami. It's time for NYCFC Pregame Live. Here are Glenn Crooks and Matty Lawrence.
And moving to the other side of the city for the Bronx at Yankee Stadium on Saturday, on a Wednesday night now at Citi Field in Flushing, Queens, as you look out towards the soccer pitch here at Citi Field, off to the right and beyond. And if you look very closely, you can see some of the stanchions above the right field bleachers here at Citi Field. That's where Etihad Park is under construction. And Brad Sims, the president of the club, recently said it will be ready for opening day in 2027. Hey, there's Matty Lawrence. I'm Glenn Crooks. And opening day, there's talk that opening day could be in the summer of 2027, Matty, instead of February of 2027. But either way, Brad says the stadium is going to be ready. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's great to see that stadium. I don't think I realised quite how close it is. I know we were told it's close, but it is slap bang. It is right there. You fancy a decent home run, and it is lofting over the fence into the centre circle. Maybe not quite. Maybe I'm being a little bit flippant, but boy, is it close. And I cannot wait, Glenn, because as much as I love coming to Citi Field or to Yankee Stadium because they're iconic arenas in their own right, they're not football stadiums. They're not soccer specific, and that's what we want, and that's what NYCFC need for me to progress as a football club. And it will be coming soon. And of course, we're going to hold Brad that to the fact that he said the beginning of the 2027 season, whether it's the end of February, whether
the
it's
field
the
is
of
going
March,
to be heated. We've been told it'll be a heated field, and if you're a
Under
supporter
soil
on
heating.
February 20th, you're just going to have to, bundle up. A lot of woolies. And Matt, appropriately here at Citi Field, is wearing his Amazing Mets shirt. The Amazing Mets have a 1-game lead in the wild card, while the Yankees, my gang, a little bit more secure for a playoff spot. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, they are incredibly safe, yes. But the Mets are struggling slightly. They're only a game ahead of the Diamondbacks and the Reds. So, yes, a little three-way tie.
What did we say? Almost. 5 games left to play for them?
5 left to play.
It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting with the Cubs tonight at Wrigley against the Mets. Obviously not here, because here, New York City FC, as Eddie Kalegi told you in the introduction, are playing host to Inter Miami CF with Lionel Messi and friends. It's the second and concluding game of the 2-game series. They opened the season against each other. Matty, that was 7 months ago. So you really can't take much from that game and place it into how this one might go, especially with how the New York City Football Club has grown over the last month and a half.
Yeah, I think it's dual layered, because you're absolutely right. NYCFC are a completely different team, and you have to look what's gone in between for Inter Miami. They've had the Club World Cup. They had 4 games. They got all the way to the Leagues Cup final. And then they had the CONCACAF Champions Cup that I think they got to the semi-finals, did they? Or not far off as well. So this is a team that's played an awful lot of games, which is why they've still got 2 games in hand on NYCFC and 3 games in hand on the other teams. If Inter Miami win their 3 games in hand, one of them being tonight, obviously, so we hope they don't do that. But if they won their 3 games in hand, they would be top of the Eastern Conference. They would be a point above the Philadelphia Union. So there's still a lot to play for. And it's whether the aging legs, the tiring legs of the likes of Suarez and Alba and Busquets and Messi, it's whether they've played a little bit too much football. You want your team to be raring, flying into the playoffs which is what NYCFC are doing currently.
At the moment.
You just fancy that Messi and co may be tailing off a little. But we'll see what happens tonight and then the remaining games they've got. But they are Saturday, Tuesday, all the way through, or whether it's Saturday, Wednesday, all the way through. They've got a lot. They've still got 6 games to play. Only 4 for NYCFC and only 3 for the likes of Columbus and Cincy and Philadelphia.
Yeah. So there will be an adjustment in the lineup, which may surprise some. That'll be announced in a moment, and then we will reveal it to you here. I don't know if you saw this on your way in, Matty. I came in very early, but out in the parking lot. Now, do you remember the big pigeon that floated down the Hudson River to mark the 10th anniversary of the club, going past the Statue of Liberty and people taking pictures for their apartments? Well, guess where it is today? It's in the parking lot at Citi Field here. So there it is.
What a surprise. There's a pigeon in the parking lot. Yeah, seems very apt for New York.
Well, but this is a massive one.
It's a big old pigeon.
It's a big old pigeon. So I kind of wondered how they might utilize the pigeon after the floating down the Hudson, because it must have cost a pretty penny to. That's
what you've been thinking about for the last few months, how they're going to utilize the pigeon.
It's one of the things.
But look, I did come into the stadium, and I came in not too much after you.
Well, you were on the train. Maybe you come from a different angle.
So I came from the subway, and it was packed. The parking lots were very busy.
Hey, how about what
they were
was
serving
like?
S'mores. They were doing.
Right.
There was a bunch of people selling definitely not legitimate Messi jerseys in light blue and in pink.
You could tell.
Yes, I can definitely tell.
Well, what was it like? What was the Messi jersey situation like? Because one of the things that I would suppose as part of the club we were proud of last year is that in so many stadiums across the country, you'll hear an overwhelming support for Messi and an overwhelming pink in the crowd. At Yankee Stadium last year, and we're going to get to that in a moment, that 1-1 draw in September, there was very little Messi in the crowd and out in the parking lot.
You only need to just look down there now to be to realize what color is going. Yeah, there's a lot of pink.
I don't know if people can see. Let's see. Off to the I think you can. Yeah. If you look closely to the left, that's where Matty's pointing, and off to the right as well.
Yeah, as I say, they were selling those jerseys for $10-20 outside the subway station earlier. NYCFC were giving away free flags, and you can see down there. I'm sure you can't see it on the picture, but there's a bunch of people with flags, scarves sort of wrapped around them. NYCFC were giving out some free scarves. But I'm with you, Glenn. You want this to be a home game for NYCFC, but as I look around this stadium, the predominant color is pink. That's right now, though. There's still a long way to go, obviously, till kickoff.
Well, in the 11, we have a new number 9 today, Matty Lawrence, and we know that at Elche, he was more the 10. He wore the 10, 7 goals, 10 assists coming in. I think we've seen his versatility this year coming in with New York City as a DP. Signing in the summer window. He's played on the right or next to Maxi Morales, however you want to look at that. He's has also floated to the number 9 during a substitution period, but he's going to start at the 9 for the first time for the New York City Football Club. So you ask, what about Alonso Martinez? Now, we don't have any report that Martinez is injured. This is the 4th game in 11 days. On Saturday, it'll be the 5th game in 14 days when New York City plays in the Hudson River Derby at the New York Red Bulls. So you'd have to think that it's a GPS science rotation sort of thing going on here. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah,
we don't know for sure.
If it's not a little niggling injury or if it's not just a little strain, maybe you would have to assume that it's exactly that. But I'm not buying that, Glenn. I'm really not buying that. This is the biggest game of the season. Pascal Janssen said that every single game that came up in that 10-game stretch after Leagues Cup was a cup final. So why would you rest people? I do understand that the GPS may say that he's tiring, but I would have to suggest that I would imagine he was feeling something. Glenn.
Well, he is on the bench because that's the next thing. We didn't have the bench at the time of the reveal, and Alonso Martinez is on the bench, as is Julian Fernandez. So those are the top 2 attacking players. Coming in for Martinez, Agustin Ojeda. And coming in for Raul Gustavo is Aiden O'Neill. So he'll be back in the midfield. Justin Hack moves back next to Thiago Martins at left central defense. But what it gives you is a deeper bench.
Yes, it definitely gives you a much deeper bench. I am surprised that Alonso Martinez is on that bench. I don't think that there's any way in the world that Fernandez Macau can do as well in the centre forward role. It doesn't mean that he can't do as well in a false nine role, but he's not somebody who's going to want to run in behind. He's not going to really want to play with his back to goal with two great centre halves up his behind, so to speak.
Yeah.
Alonso Martinez isn't the greatest in the world at holding the ball up himself. I know that. He is somebody who likes to spin and play off the shoulder of the last centre forward. It's just something a little bit different. I'm surprised and maybe not surprised. I know that's a bit of a contradiction, Glenn, that Gustavo's not playing. I think that he's trying to get into match fitness, and it's tough for him to be playing 2-3 games a week.
Well, here's what we do know. We do not have all the information.
Yes.
We are not at training. We are not in the meetings. We don't know if Alonso Martinez woke up with a temperature today. Maybe we don't know anything. So if we get any sort of report or as to why he's not starting and he's on the bench, I think the fact that he's on the bench, you're not going to put him in the squad if he's ill and unable to play. So we're going to see him tonight. And I have a theory. Would you like to hear it?
Oh, definitely, Glenn. I love hearing your theories.
Okay. So Maxi Morales is in the lineup. Is he not? Yes.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
So now Maxi, the 38-year-old, and I think we've our honest evaluation in recent matches is that Maxi, as the season has progressed, he's gotten a little bit more gassed earlier in matches. So considering that there have been so many in a short period of time, at halftime, I'm anticipating, and this is as a plan, that Martinez comes in for Morales and Fernandez Macau goes back into a role he's more familiar with, the number 10. That I'm going to just throw that out there.
Yeah,
as a possibility.
Whether it's halftime or whether it's 55,
or
60 minutes.
Right.
I would believe that you'd be right in that thinking, Glenn, providing that Alonso Martinez is fit to play minutes. But again, he's on the bench, so you would assume that he is fit to play at least 20 minutes, half an hour, if not 45 minutes. As you say, we're not privy to any of that information. We're merely speculating. What we do know is that Alonso Martinez is the best centre forward in the football club, so you would want him playing. And you'd want him playing for 90 minutes.
League.
Yeah, you'd want him playing for 90 minutes, but that may not be possible at this stage of the season with so many games so close together, especially when you consider he's been away on international duty as well, relatively recently.
Right. He has scored in 7 of the last 9 MLS matches for New York City. Has Alonso Martinez, including a penalty kick brace in the 2-0 win over Charlotte on Saturday. Hey, let's go back almost exactly a year to the day, September the 21st, 2024, this time at Yankee Stadium, and it was Inter Miami visiting and Lionel Messi playing in the New York area or in New York City in the 5 boroughs for the first time against the New York City Football Club. The game ended in a 1-1 draw, and I thought we'd take the folks back, the New York City FC radio network. We provide all the commentary for you. And in stoppage time, there was this, and it was, one of the more thrilling moments, I think, certainly last year, but you could take the whole simple history of New York City. This was a good one. Here's the corner ball, far corner, bent in, and it's James Sands with his first career goal! How about that? Drake Hollander, hands on hip, showing his frustration. New York City FC. It was the Fernandez free kick that ricocheted out for a corner. And at the death, Sands got inside of Thomas Avalos at the top of the 6. And what a time for Sands, the 24-year-old, the first homegrown signed by the club to get his first career goal. It's the leveler here in front of 44,000 plus. And how about that, Matty?
What a time to score your first. And the performance of NYCFC deserved this. You don't always get what you deserve for in football, but they deserve at least a point here. And the referee's looking at the watch and blowing the whistle, Glenn.
Yeah, that was the last action of the game. Thrilling moment. A lot of fans, the most since 2015 for a Yankee Stadium contest, and that's what Messi does. The other thing about Messi, he will start in this game, and he will start next to Luis Suarez, whose 3-game suspension for the spitting incident in the Leagues Cup has ended. And Javier Mascherano, as you said, as we had a conversation on the way into the ballpark, is going to throw Suarez right back into the lineup.
It was always going to happen. Suarez is one of the best finishers of the last probably 20 years. We know that he can be a little bit of a despicable human being at times. He's had multiple biting incidents, spitting incidents, not new to us. I don't like the way he is, particularly as a human being and as a sportsman in itself, but as an athlete, as a footballer,
right,
he is absolutely dynamite, Glenn. And you would want him out there. We know he's struggling with a knee injury. It takes him a good 10 or 15 minutes to warm up. You see him in the actual warm-up before the game, and he's hobbling about. He has cortisone injections in his knee. The one thing we do know, whatever I think of him as a human being, as an athlete, he has a will to win and a real desire to play because he doesn't need it financially, and it is hurting him every single time he takes a step, basically. He is in a lot of pain, or he certainly has been throughout the last 2 or 3 years of his career. He wants to be out there. He loves the game of football.
Tadeo Allende, who had been starting in his place, 8 goals and an assist in his 22 starts. So he's somebody that's more mobile up there. But just a quick look at Suarez, 6 goals, 10 assists in 21 starts. So more productive. And the guy he's next to, Messi, 22 goals, 12 assists in 20 starts. I mean, yes. It's really just absolutely incredible, the kinds of things that Messi has brought to MLS, not to be unexpected, because you look at his Barcelona record and he nearly had a goal a game there.
Absolutely. Look, yes, he's getting on a little bit in terms of years, but he is phenomenal. He's one of the best that the world has ever seen at this sport. I would say he's got to be up there in the top 3. There's always going to be people saying Maradona or Ronaldo or Pele, but he's up there. He's right up there. And just because he's waning towards or getting towards the twilight of his career at this level, when he's playing against defenders who might only be earning $100,000 a year, they shouldn't be on the same pitch as him. He's a genius. And I don't use that word lightly. So, yes, you have to marshal him very, very tightly, and that's why sometimes it takes 2 or 3 players.
Well, you got Matt Freese in goal, and
he's definitely earning more than $100,000 a year now.
Yeah,
now he's signed that 5-year
extension.
Deal.
Yeah, there's some cash in there, that's for sure. A wonderful special produced by MLS. You can find it on YouTube. Ariel Hudas from the Spanish side shared that with us before the broadcast.
Yeah, it's good. I strongly suggest people watch it.
Yeah, and it was really fun to watch. Freeze. It was produced by MLS. I think there was the one thing that struck us both, Matty, it was about an 8-minute interview. Introduced his girlfriend who he lives with, and how he's a goofball, but when it comes to soccer, he's serious. On game day, first of all, he talked about, I don't do much on game day. I just lay around, really relax. Don't do many, but I do 2 hours of film on game day. That's pretty interesting.
I find that quite amazing. I obviously believe him, of course. I'd like to know what the 2 hours of film was. Is it specifically just players striking the ball goalward? Is it specifically forwards and then penalty takers? Or is he...
Yeah, that might be when he watches the penalties.
Yeah, or is he getting a whole overview of how the opposition play as well? But if it's an overview of how the opposition play, you would assume that was only for 5 or 10 minutes. The rest has got to be the way players shoot, the way players approach the ball, the way they approach penalty kicks, things like that. Look, the guy, I was about to say a kid, he's not a kid, he's a man. The way that man prepares for games and his intelligent levels, obviously a Harvard graduate, we shouldn't be surprised by the infinite detail he applies to preparing for games of football. He talked about meditation as well, didn't he? Visualization, and then the multi-hours of video footage.
And we've
quite
seen
when he gets to take his girlfriend to the cinema, I'll never know.
The visualization we see before every game. He comes out early with a headset on, goes through the footwork, catches imaginary footballs from the right, from the left, and he really does anticipate what might happen in the game ahead. So that's a little bit about Matt Freese. We were talking about Yankee Stadium earlier because that's where James Sands, who's now with St. Pauli, playing every minute. St. Pauli, I think, is 4th still in the table in the Bundesliga, and they suffered their first loss over the weekend. But Sam's doing well there on loan. But Yankee Stadium, front and center, it became very obvious, as it has oftentimes, when there were so many Charlotte staff players all looking at the field, measuring it, not with a tape measure, but walking it, gesturing, what's this? What's this? We know now, Tavon Gray told us that Wilfred Zaha, he was like just a couple of minutes into the game said, I can't believe you guys play on this, kind of thing. It's in their heads. Post game, there was someone who is associated with Charlotte who suggested, I can't believe you guys play on this. So it's in their head. So I wanted to ask Pascal Janssen, because I have always called it a self-fulfilling prophecy. But here's Pascal, and this is part of our pregame show coming up at 7:15 on the network.
For me, it sounds like an excuse. It's as simple as that. The dimensions, of course, they're different, but it's 11-11, 2 goals. The lines are the same, a little off here and there. But the one thing I do want to mention is coming into our home, and that's something that we're trying to establish, of course, from the get-go in March 27 as well, once we have our new stadium, is that teams come with a certain fear to our stadiums and have a certain fear to play us. So that's what we're looking for in general. You have all know as well that the away games in the MLS are never comfortable. And it would be very easy for me to reply in a similar way to say, okay, once we go on the road or we go to other teams to play, and you have to play on turf, or you have to play in an NFL stadium, like Chicago with the lines of the NFL still on pitch. You never hear me complain about any of those aspects, because it's simply something that you have no influence on. So talking about it shows a mentality that I'm not about.
I think each week we become a little bit more fond of Pascal Janssen, and it's answering a question like that certainly makes it that way. Now, he also, and the one thing, what did you think about this, Matty? Because we've been down there an awful lot. He talked about the lines, the lines are the same, and then he went a little off here and there.
Yeah, there's a good
which
few,
lines is it?
Well, there's a good few yards off the dimensions. We know that.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. I'm assuming that's all he meant. But I'm hoping he didn't mean like
just
this.
a little bit.
The
That 18-yard box is a little
exactly.
awkward.
Let's hope he wasn't meaning
Well,
that.
it's 70 yards wide at Yankee Stadium. It's 70 yards wide here at Citi Field. Take a look at it. This is an angle, though, that it makes it appear, and as a player, and we've down on this field too, it's not as odd, I guess, the shape of how the field is situated versus the bleachers. There's still the infield sod. You can see it quite clearly in the middle left portion of the screen if you're watching this. So you're dealing with that as well. But as someone told me recently when we were suggesting something, and this is outside of the radio booth, they just said, just deal with it.
Yeah.
Deal with it. And sometimes those words are
absolutely
simple but true.
Yeah, Charlotte came to lose almost, it felt. They came to not want to play on the baseball field that they knew they were coming to play on. It's ridiculous. You're going to Yankee Stadium. It's a baseball stadium. They're going to plonk a football pitch in the middle of it, but you knew that. NYCFC have been playing on it since 2015, Glenn. It hasn't changed. The dimensions are the same. I did think that the way some of the players and the staff approached the game, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. We don't want to be playing here. We're too good to be playing on this type of surface. This shouldn't be happening. And lo and behold, they went out there and they underperformed. And they deserved everything that they got, Glenn, in my opinion. And I will stand by what Pascal said. It's just an excuse. It could have been teaming down with rain. It could have been Soldier Field with football lines on. It could be Vancouver where the AstroTurf's dreadful, or Gillette Stadium where there's no fans watching and the AstroTurf's dreadful. 2 teams out there, 2 sets of 11 players. Everybody's got to deal with the same thing, Glenn.
We're not too far off from the kickoff, 7:40 p.m. Eastern. The kickoff of our live commentary is going to be 7:15 for the pregame show with Pascal Janssen. So we'll have more to offer there for the gaffer, about a 13-minute interview with him where we cover other things like his moment with Zaha along the touchline. So I'm not going to say any more. You got to listen to the pregame show. to understand where Pascal is coming from there. You see the starting 11. Again, 2 changes. Ojeda in for Alonso Martinez. He's on the benches, Martinez, the leading goal scorer for New York City FC. And Aiden O'Neill back at the 11 in place of Raul Gustavo. I wanted to share one more thing, Matty, and I did it last time he was the referee, but this includes some of his comments in relation to this. The referee today is Philip Dujic, who last year did a St. Louis Atlanta game, and his VAR description, which the referees had the mic, and you describe why the decision was made, it went viral because of his delivery. So without saying any more, a goal was scored. They were reviewing it for offside, saw something else, and here we go.
After review, there was no offside offense. However, prior to the goal, there was a foul committed by St. Louis. The final decision is direct free kick.
No goal.
My name is Philip Dujic. I'm a pro referee. I am from Toronto, Canada, and I'm a proud member of the PSRA. I was refereeing a match earlier in the year. There was offside on the field. That was the decision. We ended up going to review. And then what is usually a typical decision and announcement actually gained quite a bit of viral traction. So I ended up making an announcement, but there were multiple components to the review. So there was an offside, but before the offside, there was a foul. So everyone was expecting an offside decision, but we had this whole thing of a foul before it. So when I went to do the announcement, everyone thought it was really funny, but I was just being myself. That's just how I talk. So I said there was an offside on the play, and then the crowd, they started like cheering, and I was sort of in my mind like, okay, hold on. However, before the offside, there was a foul. So the fans were they were really excited, and then they weren't. So in the moment, I didn't think too much of it. I just thought it was, a regular announcement. A player, after halftime came, patted me on the back, said, "Hey, you really got us with that announcement." And I sort of laughed, and I didn't think much of it. That's just how I talk. And anybody who knows me knows that's just my personality. So it ended up being a cool moment, an unexpectedly cool moment that kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Remember, he woke up the next day and there were 1 million views on that clip, and I had it a little wrong. It was called offside. Then he came back and said, no offside, however.
However, the game's not supposed to be about the referee, but he made it about himself.
I was saying this earlier on NYCFC Views Live. I said, it's almost like how you talk to your children. You can go out tonight, however, you better be home by 11 or you're done for. All right, we're just about set to get underway. So, Messi, Suarez, Busquets, Alba, and Rodrigo de Paul. It's the big 5 now with Inter Miami. They are all in the 11 for New York City FC. A little bit more anonymous unless you follow the club closely. I suppose Matt Freese is now a national figure. He will be in goal. The captain is Thiago Martins. The big news tonight, at the start of this game, Alonso Martinez, without question the talisman for New York City FC, will start the game on the bench and not in the 11 on the field. He is available, and we'll see how that goes with Nico Fernandez-Burcao, the designated player. He'll be positioned at the number 9 for New York City tonight. All right, 7:15. That's when the pregame show begins on nycfc.com/radio. And then at 7:30, we'll be joined by Sirius XMFC, channel 157. So you can listen to us there or on the Sirius XM app if you're a subscriber. Or if you're watching the game at home and you're not at the stadium, you can use the drop-down feature for MLS Season Pass to listen to our English hometown commentary, synced up beautifully with a video. And as Matt always says at this point, it is mandated that you listen to us. All right, Matty, should be a good one.
Yes, it should. Cannot wait.
All right, for Matty Lawrence, I'm Glenn Crooks. Thanks so much for joining us here, and enjoy the game, everybody.